Hi Alicia, welcome to the Community Living Golf event. Just want to give you an opportunity to see your swing here a few times. We'll let that play on through, then we'll put you back in your address position and we'll take a look at a few things for you. So while we got you back here in your setup, let's first of all just go ahead and take a look at your address position. We can see here that your spine is straight and on a tilt. Your legs come down into a nicely unlocked position. Your arms you hold out in front of you a little too far, and the golf club works down to the golf ball. So ideally what I would do if I were to work on your golf game, I would just get you to sort of try and push your tail out and up a little and move your sternum out and forward and up a hair. And what that's going to do, it's going to just increase the angle of your spine just a little bit. From here you can keep your legs exactly where they are. They're nice and unlocked, which is great. But then what we have to do is we got to let your arms hang down a little bit more naturally and then let the golf club work out to the ball. So we have to increase the angle relationship between your arms and the golf club. Right now you're creating a lot of pronation where your arms are out in this direction. So you really want to let your arms hang. Okay, so a little slight adjustment in the spine, just getting you a little bit more into the golf ball, but definitely number one priority from this angle is getting your arms to hang better and increase the angle relationship between your arms and your golf club. The next thing we want to observe from this vantage point has to do with your alignment. We can see that your feet are aiming out to the right. So we're set up in a very, very closed stance. Now, correct alignment means that your club face is running parallel to your feet. Even if that was the case, parallel lines will have an appearance converging. But we are set up to hit the golf ball considerably out to the right, over into the right rough here, when our intended target is sort of back in this vicinity. So we're going to have to see some form of a compensation so that you get that ball back to the left. So you're either going to swing the club on plane, start the ball out towards where you're aimed, but then hopefully we can get the club face imparting right to left spin on the ball, and we'll be able to draw or hook the ball back on line. If we don't do that and we swing that golf club on plane without flipping the hands, then we're going to end up coming over the top, attacking the ball from the outside and trying to pull that ball back towards its intended target, and we'll get a good sense of what you do to try and create that compensation. Let's go ahead and do a little split screen comparison here between you and Chella Choi. Now we've got some color-coded lines up on the screen just to give you a good sense of visually what that golf club is supposed to be doing and its reference to swing plane. Now, before I take a look at your swing plane, notice how your lines are much closer together. The red line is really close to the yellow line, and the yellow line is close to the blue line. Notice Chella's, there's a much larger gap there. This is due to the fact that your arms are not hanging. So again, if we could get your arms to hang down to here, whoops, sorry, let me clear that off the screen. Get your arms to hang down a little bit more naturally from here, get your hands closer to you. That club would then go out to the golf ball. Notice that your address plane now would sit on this angle. Okay, so we're going to notice that that angle, sorry, what was that angle at? Was it 50 degrees? Let me just come back and draw it. Sorry, it's 40 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to clear these things off the screen. Knowing that we were at 40 degrees, I'm going to put up an address plane that's more indicative of where it should be. There's no point in looking at the first red line as it pertains to your golf swing, okay? Because the reality is your hands should be closer down towards your thighs, and then the shaft of the club would be sitting on that second red line. So we're going to put that there because that's really the visual point that we need to use as it pertains to your swing. Now, getting to the left side of the screen, as we initiate a takeaway, what we're looking for is a nice one-piece takeaway whereby we rotate the shoulders, we draw the arms and hands back with the club, and that becomes a one-piece move. In doing so, we need to see that the club is traveling back right along the red line. That means the club is coming back on a proper swing plane. From here, she's going to continue to turn. She's going to incorporate wrist hinge, which is allowing the club head to move from below the hands to now being above the hands. And now working the club from red up to yellow with that continued shoulder rotation. When she finally sets the golf club at the top, we're going to see that the left arm is situated on the yellow line. The club shaft and the club header are within the blue-yellow V zone, but the club shaft and header are closer to the yellow line as well. She has full shoulder rotation, and she does this about a very stable right leg, keeping the weight on the inside part of her right foot. If we go ahead and watch you initiate your takeaway here from your pronated wrist position, we're probably going to see very little wrist hinge from you, because when you don't have your arms and your club set correctly, very difficult to create wrist hinge with this pronated position. Nonetheless, as you're drawing the golf club back, you have great shoulder rotation, you're bringing your arms back with the club, and we can see that the club is caught a little bit underneath or inside of the swing plane. Now, let's look at where it is. It's inside of the swing plane based on the second red line. Notice it would be way more inside of plane relative to the first red line. So that's not indicative or gives us any sort of truth as to what your golf swing is doing. As you continue to move that golf club back, we can see that you maintain very stiff wrists with the golf club. So we're not creating that wrist hinge. A lot of that, again, is due to your setup and not letting your arms hang and creating that angle relationship between the arms and the club. So right here, again, the club head's not really transitioning above the hands because we create wrist hinge. Very important to create wrist hinge from many standpoints. One, wrist hinge creates power. Think about casting a fishing lure out into the water. You have to cock your wrists in order to create speed to send that lure out. Think about throwing a ball. If we don't cock our wrists, we can't snap the wrist coming through to create power. So we have to create wrist hinge, bringing the golf club back. Very, very important. Now, as we continue to go back here, again, we can still see that you're very stiff-wristed with the golf club. A lot of people who do this, their arms will end up compressing because their subconscious brain is telling us, hey, we still need to complete the golf swing. You're not completing the golf swing through that wrist hinge, so the arms will likely break down. In your case, they don't. You just maintain that stiff-wristed position, but your arms stay in really good position relative to your core. The club is also in good position relative to your arms. If you just cocked your wrist better, you would have created more club travel, and you would have set the golf club ideally at the top. I like your rotation. I like the stability of your right leg. We could probably store a little bit more energy on the inside part of your right foot. And then the other thing too is you do have a little bit of unnecessary activity with your left knee and your left foot. Really all that needs to happen with that lower left side is it just has to give way to the fact that you've rotated. So the left knee should kick in a hair and the left instep should roll in a little, but you don't need to bring it off the ground. So notice with Chella Choi, left knee is kicked in, but her left foot's still on the ground and she's just rolled onto the instep a bit. You've physically picked that foot up off the ground. So a little unnecessary motion there that doesn't need to happen. As we create our transition back into the ball, simply want to take our weight from our right foot, drive it to the left, fire the knees and the hips to the target, unwind the core and fire the hands. Now in doing so, we have to make sure that we're bringing the golf club from yellow back down on top of red. And that's exactly what we see here with Chella. The golf club has returned right back to being on plane. And we can see that right there. The other thing we want to look at this stage is the relationship between the lead forearm. Sorry, I want to get rid of the arrow. The relationship between the lead forearm and the golf club. I refer to this as the backwards check mark. And it very simply means she's retaining angle coming into the hitting zone, whereby the club head right now is still above and behind her hands. This is what's going to allow her to create a lot of power in the golf swing, let alone getting the club to return back to plane as we already pointed out, which allows the club head to continue to track into the ball from the red line, and this is ultimately what's going to allow us to hit a straight golf shot. So with your transition back into the golf ball, you start to plant your left side, so you've got some footwork happening, your knees are working, your hips are working, you're dropping your hands and arms, and I like this position right here between your lead forearm and the golf club. I mean, you've got your lead forearm here, you've got your club there, you've got your backwards check mark. So creating power isn't going to be that much of an issue for you, except for the fact that you could be retaining more power if you had created wrist hinge going back. So if we create wrist hinge going back, we'll retain more wrist hinge coming in, we'll have a greater angle there, and we'll be able to hit the ball further because we'll be storing more energy. Nonetheless, the club head is above and behind the hands. Now it hasn't fully returned back to the plane line, so we're a little bit on top of it, but if we could just continue to track that club coming in the ball, we'll see what kind of job you do relative to the swing plane there. So let's go ahead and get rid of that line, and let's just track the club head coming in. And what we'll do is with Chella Choi, we see that her club head falls just right underneath the red line, so she's actually not attacking the ball from right on plane. She's slightly underneath the plane, which this isn't a major issue. She just has to make sure she squares the club face up. Ideally, we would like to see that all those yellow lines right on the red line coming into the ball. With you as we come in, we can see here club falls right onto plane right there. That's fantastic, and coming into the ball very nicely. So if we connect your dots, you actually let that club fall right back onto plane just beautifully, and we can see if we connect the dots, that club is coming into the ball from that second red line that I produced on the screen for you, that is more relevant and indicative of what your golf swing should look like geometrically. You do a great job coming into the ball with respect to your plane, so that's superb. So you have the ability, because the club is falling back on plane, you have the ability to hit a straight golf shot. Now let's go back to what we originally talked about. There was one issue. Where were you aimed? So the problem is right now you're aimed way out to the right. So you have the ability to hit the ball straight in accordance to your alignment. The problem is we're aimed way out towards the right rough, and we know that the intended target's over here. So the only way for you to get that ball back towards the intended target is you got to shut the club face down. Now you're either going to shut the club face down with having a strong grip, or you're going to over release your forearms, or something's going to happen to try and get the ball there. But it's really, really, really hard work to make that happen. And in this particular swing, you can see the face doesn't shut down. You hit the toe of the club. The ball is heading out in the exact direction of where you're aimed, and it's going to be very difficult to get that ball coming back towards the intended target. You're just having to work too hard to get that ball back to the center of the fairway because you don't shut the face down. Okay? Let's go back to just pre-impact. And really what we want to pay attention to now is just really the path of the club. And what we can see is we can see with Chella Choi, her club is slightly inside the ball. It expands out, makes contact, and then it just gradually moves through nice and efficiently. With Chella Choi, her alignment is over in this direction. Parallel lines would have the appearance again of converging. Her target's out over here, so we can clearly see that her swing arc with that yellow line is following the direction of where she wants to hit the golf ball. So she's going to hit the ball straight in accordance to her alignment. We can also see with you, your club is slightly inside the ball. It expands out to hit it just, whoop, sorry, I went through too far. Just like hers, you end up hitting the toe of the club a little bit. The club comes through, nice natural subtle arc. So again, you're going to hit the ball straight in accordance to your alignment as well. Unfortunately, your alignment's too far to the right. So unless you shut the club face down, there's just no way you're going to get that ball back to the center of the fairway. So you can see how important it is to make sure that your alignment's good, because you have a good downswing. If your alignment's good, you'll be able to get that ball tracking on line a lot better. As we come through, last thing we want to sort of just observe has to do with the right foot being off the ground at point of impact, and we just want to see that continued activity of that right foot through to the finish. We want to see that right heel come up off the ground, get up on the toe of the right foot so we can count the spikes in the shoe. This allows the hips to square around and the shoulders to fully rotate through the shot. So at this point in time, we can see she's up on the toe of her right foot. We can count the spikes. All her weight's on her left side. She's posted up nice and tall on her left leg. Her hips are square and facing the target. Her shoulders have fully over-rotated. Her hands are high and the club's back and behind her. As we watch you move through, right heel's off the ground, you carry your motion through, and you carry yourself through to a pretty decent finish. The problem is you fall back onto your right heel, so you're not displacing all your weight on your left side, and that's something you want to learn to do for sure, is learn how to create proper footwork up on that heel, get up on the toe of the right foot so that all your weight displaces on your left side. One of the reasons why you're falling back is because your subconscious brain is working really hard to try and hook that ball back to the left, and that's one of the reasons why you fall back out of that golf shot. Okay? Anyways, you've got some really great athleticism here. I really like how your hands work. You draw your hands back and you fire those hands through, so that's superb. You coil your body back, you uncoil through. That's great. Got to utilize better footwork through to the finish so we can be in balance when we're done and finish on that left side. Very important to create that proper footwork through to the finish. Now, if you can just observe here, look at the end of your golf swing and how it sort of falls away. It looks like it's trying to say go left, and it is, because you're aiming too far out to the right. So one of the things we need to fix is we got to fix your alignment. we got to fix your alignment because you are bringing the club down on a really nice plane. So you have the ability to hit the ball straight in accordance to your alignment. The problem is we got to get you aimed to the center of the fairway. Okay? At that point in time, if the grip is good, then the club face can square up. So if we have good aim, we bring the club down on plane and a square face, then you can hit the ball straight and you won't have to work so hard to try and get this ball going to the left. Also in your address position, we really have to change your arm position. We really got to get your arms hanging down, increasing the angle relationship between your arms and the golf club. Absolutely. That way we can learn how to create better wrist hinge coming back, maximize and store more energy so we can release more energy through the golf ball. And with the power that you already have without creating a wrist hinge, you're just going to add that much more yardage on your golf shots. Okay? Overall, golf swing looks really good. Just needs some minor tweaks there. You know, if you were to work on your golf game, you become a really, really good ball striker and really, really consistent and a really good player for sure. I can see that you definitely have a lot of potential here. Okay? Anyways, if you ever want to work on your golf game, certainly feel free to contact me. All my contact information comes at the end of the video here, and you can contact me via email and or phone number, which you also already have, and I'd be happy to work on your golf game with you. Also, hopefully, as you work with some of your other events and you'd like to provide the swing analysis services for some of those other corporate opportunities, I would love to be able to do that for you as well. Okay. Anyways, hope you had a great day, and hope you enjoyed getting an opportunity to see your swing on video, and look forward to talking to you in the future. Take care and have a great day.